Okay, I'm just gonna preface this whole video with a huge spoiler warning. I'm going to be talking about my problems with Cowboy Bebop's ending, which, means that I have to actually talk about the ending. Even though the series is turning 20 this year, last year, I understand that some people still haven't watched this incredible series. If you haven't watched it yet, both the subbed and dubbed versions are available for streaming on Hulu, and I would highly recommend that you stop this video right now, watch the entire series, and come back when you're done. Not only will you be able to watch the series with fresh eyes, but this video will also make leagues more sense with proper context. Everyone out? Good. And don't think that I've forgotten about you, Michael Smith. We all know full well that you haven't watched a single episode of Cowboy Bebop in your life and are still choosing to watch this video. I like you. You live life on the edge, or as close as you can get to on the edge when you're watching a rant video about a 20-year-old anime. So without further ado, I think it's time we blow this scene, get everybody and the stuff together.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
I cannot state this enough, love Cowboy Bebop. I guess you could sort of tell that, considering that it's part of my name and all. This series is a testament to how great characters can make any story worth telling. Whether they're fighting eco-terrorists, creepy space cultists, former mentors, or literal rotting space leftovers, the crew of Starship Bebop make every adventure worth the watch. But ever since I finished the series back in August of last year, there's been something that's been eating away at me. You know the critically acclaimed ending of the series? The one that is beloved by almost all who watch the show? I don't like it. Not only do I not like it, but I think that it goes against the very thing that makes the series fun to watch. It goes against the core theme of the series that is the foundation that everything is built upon. At first glance, Cowboy Bebop's overarching theme can seem all but non-existent. The series feels like an anthology of loosely related episodes that are only tied together by their inclusion of our main cast. Every conflict is self-contained, never leaving their respective episodes. But unlike other self-contained shows, here it doesn't mean that there's a universal reset after each outing. Every episode has a purpose, a sort of underlying method to the madness. The series as a whole presents the crew's journey to accepting their place in the universe. We meet each member of the cast at their lowest point. Spike and Jet are stuck wandering the solar system, living without the certainty of what the next day will bring. Faye is trying to evade her debt that was given to her by the very person who raised her into the world of 2071. And Ed has never known the feeling of having a home, a place to belong. Everyone is alone. Everyone that they've ever attached themselves to is either a traitor, a deserter, or flat out dead. The only people they have left are the other members of the crew, and in the beginning, they absolutely hate it. Their personalities constantly clash, leading to Spike's infamous line at the end of jamming with Edward.
Jet, do you know that there are 3 things that I particularly hate?
Really?
Kids, animals, and women with attitudes. So tell me, Jet, why do we have all 3 of them neatly gathered in our ship?
He states this because the ending of this episode marks the first time that he can no longer ignore the shifting dynamic around him and must learn to embrace it, which is what he does for the next 13-something episodes. Over this period, the gang morphs into this sort of family that none of them have ever had. They form these unspoken bonds, much like the ones that form between individual family members. Spike and Faye hate each other, but they never outright harm each other, much like quarreling siblings. Jet becomes a sort of overbearing parent to the rest of the crew, and Ed is just everyone's little whatever. It's the building of these relationships, the making of a family from nothing, that makes Cowboy Bebop so special. Following the journey of these 4 misfits as they learn to find happiness where they are is at the core of every episode of this series. So what better way is there to end a show about family than tearing it apart at the seams? Okay, that's not entirely true, but with some of the characters' actions, it sure feels like it. They just make choices that are just so stupid within their proper context. While some characters learn and grow from their experiences, others feel like all of their development and character arcs just decide to reset during the last 3 episodes for no reason. I've got a couple of grievances to air with some of these characters, so I guess we'll just start off with the simpler one first. Why was Ed written out of the last 2 episodes? who had the bright idea to exclude 1/4 of the main cast from the series finale of all things. They're not even subtle about it. Ed's choice to roam the earth in search of their father instead of staying with the rest of the Bebop crew makes little to no sense when taking into account their series character arc. Ed starts off the series as a vagabond who's never known a permanent home, but they are slowly accepted into the Bebop crew. They form family-esque bonds with the other people on the ship, most notably with Jet. He sort of adopts them as his own, clearly demonstrated by the very subtle father-daughter imagery, and making somewhat questionable decisions to make them happen, such as not turning in the bounty that he worked his ass off to find just so that Ed could have a chess partner, sacrificing, food. So when Ed finally reunites with their biological father and he turns out to just be a deadbeat who can't even tell his child apart from a total stranger, like he doesn't even know their name, the most logical choice of action would be to follow him right after he abandons you for the second time, right? Of course not. No human with a basic, emotional compass would ever make a decision like that. Ed isn't stupid, they're actually a very smart person, and they should have realized that he wasn't worth the effort of tracking down, especially when they had to trick what is essentially their family into pursuing this man. Ed should have just stayed with Bebop. It's that simple. Now, Spike's situation, on the other hand, is a little more complicated than that. He is the series' problem child, even more so than the literal problem child in the cast. And I'll be honest, I've never really liked the Spike-centric episodes, specifically both two-parters and the Ballad of Fallen Angels. I've always felt that they missed the entire point of Cowboy Bebop by trying to force a linear plotline into a show that is inherently directionless. And I feel like Spike's character plays a key role in why these episodes are so hard to watch. My main problem with him is that he never really grows as a character. He starts the series off as this cool guy persona who isn't capable of any emotion that can't be expressed exclusively in cryptic one-liners, and he remains that way throughout the show's entire run. Sure, things happen to him that would make any normal character go, there might be something that I can learn from this. But not Spike Spiegel. He's too cool to learn such frivolous lessons as, maybe don't be such a pompous jerk. Nope, we can't possibly afford to have character develop in a character-driven show. Dog is the only smart one. Now, Spike doesn't have to immediately learn from his experiences. Most people really don't. All he needs is a breaking point, a point in which he can no longer keep up his persona and ignore what's happening around him. But we never get that. Even when you think that he's gonna finally break, his actions are finally gonna catch up to him, he still keeps on this tough guy attitude. Even when Faye, after realizing that she herself can never return to her past, essentially tells him that he's a hypocrite. His persona was constructed entirely as a means to convince himself that he's not attached to his past, and that it keeps him from living in the present. He still doesn't break, he just says these bullshit one-liners. Again, God, he is still the same character in episode 26 that he was in episode 6. And don't even get me started on his relationship with Julia. Their relationship is essentially nothing more than a half-baked plot device. Spike essentially spends the whole series trying to find her, but she only shows up as an actual character within the final 2 episodes. And dies, not even all the way in. It's kinda hard to get invested in a character when they die within 44 minutes of their introduction. It's not like she's unimportant in respect to the plot. In fact, she's quite the opposite. Her death is the primary reason for Spike's attack on the Syndicate, the thing that he, dies from. But she feels empty, like she's just a device that solely exists to move Spike's plot along. And honestly, this isn't purely bad. I actually think that this could work to the show's advantage if they use her right, but as it is, nothing good came out of Julia. Or this ending, for that matter. I mean, Spike just straight up dies. And yeah, I know the series creator intended it to be ambiguous, but come on. He was shot multiple times during a solo mission in which he never even intended to tell the other crew members about. At least in Fallen Angels, Faye was there to save him, but here, he's just dead, and that makes it kind of a downer ending. And a shitty one at that, honestly. So, what would my ideal ending be? After all, what is the critique worth if you don't offer solutions to the problem at hand? I believe the solution for Ed's ending is simple. Just keep them on the ship. Their leave only really serves as an excuse for the Rares to not acknowledge them in the series finale. While that and to give us the best egg-eating scene of all time. I mean, look at him. Look at him go. I believe this is the only scene that would really create any problems if Ed was reintroduced to the cast, seeing as this is the scene in which they actually leave. The whole emotional tension of the scene rides upon their departure, but it doesn't necessarily have to be like this. We can give the scene a more uplifting tone and keep the raw emotional impact intact. My solution? Shift the focus onto Faye. Replace the shots of Ed leaving the ship with ones of Faye exploring her former home. She is the main focus of the episode, after all. And replace the shots of Faye realizing that she has no family to come back to with shots of the family that she had unconsciously been taken into all along. I feel like it would be a better way to end Faye's arc without sacrificing the logic behind Ed's actions. Now Spike, once again, is harder to fix than Ed, and I guess that's only reasonable, seeing as how his ending does take up 2 episodes as compared to Ed's 1. The resolution to his arc is a little less than good. Okay, it's a lot less than good, but that's besides the point. My main issue with him is, again, he doesn't have an actual character arc. So let's see how we can fix this. So in my version, the entire episode plays out as normal, except with maybe a few Ed cameos just to make sure that they're still on the ship. It's basically just the same episode until we get to this scene. This is the infamous scene in which Faye is finally back on the Bebop, only to find Spike leaving them once more. And again, the scene plays out as normal. Faye tells Spike how what he's doing won't change anything. Spike says some bullshit about being truly alive. Same old, same old. That is until Faye takes aim and fires. At that moment, something in Spike just snaps and he breaks down. He's finally reached his breaking point. Something about that gunshot just sends a wave of emotions through him at 1,000,000 miles per hour. I personally like it to somehow tie into Julia's death and the fatal consequences that come to fruition if Spike does embark on this suicide mission. And after all this, we see Spike do something that we've never seen him do before. We see him cry. Tough guys are meant to cry, at least in my eyes. Ally. If they don't have any emotional weakness, they aren't balanced characters, at least when they're on the protagonist side. Sure, you can do this for the antagonist, but that's because we're already supposed to hate them. But even the most untraditional of heroes like Notorious Renegade Spike Spiegel need a little vulnerability to break up the smug one-liners and the sassy remarks. And so, he crumbles both physically and emotionally, and Faye consoles him, which once again is something that never happens in the series. But what about the 6 or so more minutes left in the episode, you might be saying? If you change this moment, this decision, you change the entire ending. And while yes, that was the entire point of this video, you hypothetical Nimrod, I do see where your concerns are coming from. I'd personally like to replace our current ending with one that I feel better represents the theme of the series. First, there should be a small time skip from the last scene of this. Not anything too considerable, maybe just a week or two, but definitely enough so that he can forget this happened. It would start off right in the middle of a chase with another small bounty. After all, these characters are at their best when they're fighting evil space mold or the space monkey mafia, not when they're fighting some grandiose big bad like the Syndicate. The scene just plays out like any other chase, but with one key difference. They are finally working together, using their synergy to catch the criminal more effectively. And once they catch him, they head back to the ship to eat some dinner. Jet cooks up his specialty, bell peppers with beef, and as always, the crew eats it. But unlike any other time this dish is served in the series, the characters don't complain. In fact, they're actually quite happy to be eating it. They're all there together, just having fun and being with one another. And after dinner, we see Spike and Jet alone on the ship's deck. Jet tells Spike the story that he had told him all the way back in the beginning of the episode.
Have you heard this story? A man injures his leg during a hunt. He's in the middle of the savannah. No means to treat the wound. The leg rots and death approaches. Last minute, he's picked up by an airplane. He looks down and sees a land of pure white below him, glistening in the light. It's the summit of a snow-capped mountain. The mountain is Kilimanjaro. As he gazes down, he feels the life flowing out of him, and he thinks, that's where I was headed.
And?
I hate stories like that.
It's almost word for word, exact verbatim. But this time, instead of smugly shrugging off the story like he did the first time he had heard it, he agrees with it. He agrees with what Jet's saying. And right then and there, the series ends, even keeping the iconic ending stinger. You're gonna carry that weight. You can never get rid of your past mistakes. Your only hope is to learn from them and to grow as a person. You can't just go down fighting, driven by the hopeless urge to fix your past, because you're never gonna fix your past. You're gonna have to keep carrying that weight throughout the rest of your life. It never goes away, but you get stronger. Your mental muscles get thicker, and it makes carrying that weight a whole lot easier. So, what do you think? Yeah, I know, making out my own ending for an anime that finished airing 20 years ago seems kinda petty, but I really enjoyed it. And anyways, live from New York, I've been Ally, and I'm not gonna say that goddamn line.
And there we stood, bled into something good. A love for me, easily infected by fireworks and cinnamon gum.
Okay, maybe I'll say it once. See ya, Space Cowboy.